Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
So here's New Bedford Rising Tide, which is the expansion for New Bedford. What's the first thing you notice is that this is not all going to fit in the base box very well, so you might have to end up keeping this. You're going to have a rule book that will kind of go through all the stuff. You can see pictures and hear reference of all of the tiles. It tells you what's suggested for 2 players, which is nice, and for more players, etc. Which ones that you should use. That's very nice. I wish more rule books did that. Once again, reference for everything that you're going to see here in all the new buildings, etc. And then different combinations that they recommend that you play through. A reference sheet. So very long, and a lot of references for really, that doesn't come out to very much stuff inside the box. So it's going to add a town spot right here. You can see the Town Hall General Store and some new center of Town Hall. You're going to get some new bits to play with the 5 player. You're going to have the white player. So you have all the components that you're going to need for this. Now, some of these will do some different things. One wood, if you're first, you get +1 to that. A brick, if you're first, you get to choose one of these. A little bit different options. You are going to need to use this if you go with the 5th player. You're also going to get a bridge, mayor's house, and 20 new building tiles to utilize. Most of these will take effect. There's 2 new ones that take effect later in the round, but these will just give you different options as you're going through. Now, some of these in the rule book will show you that they're better at 2, 3, or 4 players. They'll recommend certain ones, but experienced people can do whatever they like, of course. Or a victory point can only be built if you have no money. It's a little shanty. So it gives you a lot of variety. I'm not going to go through each one, but know that this can be knocked in depending on the player count and what you want to do. Most of them are going to be very straightforward to what you're used to. And like I said, 2 will take place in a different area of the game later on. Otherwise, put a worker on it, you get the good. I should make a note that the bridge and the mayor are these really, really small tiles. So be careful that you don't lose these, as they are very tiny in your hand. You have 2 decks of cards, a Ship's Log, Omens, and Providence. So when you're whaling, if you don't have a whaling option to take or wish to take one of these cards instead, you can do this and they will give you something else. So when selected, you collect 3 of those resources, move both of your ships 2 spaces out into first place. Place a worker on the whaling track. That worker cannot be used next round. Worth 1 point in a ship's log. Town actions give no bonuses during the round if used. Worth 1 point in ship's log. All other players move one of their ships 1 space closer to port, etc. So these will just change the rules. A lot of them will activate when you take effect. Some of them will take activation later on, as you can see. It just depends. You got to read the card and do what they say. But it gives you another option when you're going through the whaling other than just taking a whale. Sometimes you go to whaling and there's nothing there. You can take one of these cards instead. So what do I think of Rising Tide overall? I would add this in right away. The Captain Log, those cards are very neat. Gives you extra options. If you feel it's a little bit too much for your group, maybe leave that out. The 5th player, it's a no-brainer. This game is really short anyway. It's not going to add a lot of time. Add that 5th player in if you have a 5th to plan. My family happens to be a family of 5, so it works out well for us. The other tiles, yeah, move them in. It gives you variety. There's no reason to leave them out. I didn't find any that were overly complicated or complicate the game in any way. They just give you more options. This is one of those things I feel like was probably in the base game, and they took it out just to say there was an expansion with the Kickstarter. Kind of feels that way. Maybe I'm wrong. What do I know? But it feels that way. This fits like a glove with the base game. I'd recommend it right away. If you're going to get the base game and play it, I would say get this as quickly as possible, even just for those new buildings. It's going to spice things up, change things up, so you don't have the same strategy every time. This is going to work out great. Excellent.